GNASS. Two degenerates, both sides of the border. John Santina, Alex Lacasse. The Great North American Sports Show.
Coming to you from an unseasonably warm heart of New Hampshire's seacoast, this is the Great North American Sports Show. I'm one of your hosts, Alex Lacasse. As always, we're joined by my friend and former college roommate and our friendly neighbor to the north in Toronto, Ontario. It's John Santina. John, how are you this weekend? Whereas we are recording on the afternoon of November 12th in the year of our Lord 2022.
Not too bad. I mean, I can't complain. It's a little bit foggy today, but any day that it's not freezing cold November in Toronto, we are happy people here. So that, and plus we do have some hockey tonight, so maybe we'll touch on that for today's show. How are you feeling, Alex?
Still upright, John. It was there was a little election this week in the United States.
Always a little up and down.
That's still they're both still being counted as we record. So but things didn't get as hairy as some were projecting, or as most of a group think was projecting.
Well, that's good because there could be some stress for you involved with an election, but the good news is there won't be on this show. There will be stress in other ways, though, because we got a wonderful show ahead of you today. Of course, we have our final gob of Big League Chew this season. Alex and I will reflect on a season that was, and of course, we'll take the local temperature before we jump into the January meetings. The fallout with the Boston Bruins, as they made some tough decisions this past week, Alex. They made some tough ones, but there's some positives afoot, and we'll go around some other positives around the rink too. We look ahead to what's been a very, call it a lukewarm NFL season, and
Trash.
what we can and hopefully we can expect some things the second half. We'll talk about it. And of course, we have a new segment for you all. It is the inaugural that segment that is all things basketball. This is Open Court. I know, fantastic name, right? This week, of course, we'll start with the saddest team in the NBA. So hush hush, we'll tell you who that is. I mean, I'm sure you could figure it out just by looking at the standings, though. And of course, we'll close out the show with This Week in Social Media and, of course, everyone's favorite segment, Degenerates Corner. Alex, let's jump right into it.
Well, yes, John, we do have a winner in the Old Fall Classic. The Astros prevailed in 6 games, getting Dusty Baker his first managerial win, World Series win as a manager. He did win one as a player back in the, he was on the 81 Dodgers. He might have won another one. But John, I guess when you look at this World Series, the Astros, they really put their stamp on this series in Game 5 to go back to Houston with the lead, and I think the failure of losing to the first of the Nationals with coming back home with the lead in 7, losing to the Braves in 7 with home field advantage. But I think that really propelled them in this series. I guess my question for you is: do you think the Astros, with this win, have now officially put 2017 behind them?
I'd like to hope so. And, kind of on that note, I was about to say Carlos who, because with Pena winning the MVP in the World Series, just
the pride of the University of Maine, John.
Right. I think he was also the first rookie with, I believe,
him and Paul Correa.
Yeah, right. But I think Jeremy Pena, the first rookie, I believe, with hits in every game that he played in the World Series, which really, really fantastic feat, especially given the fact that they had such a slugging shortstop as part of that was a star on that 2017 team. And I think they have finally put it behind them, and we'd like to think so, just because we talked about it before the World Series began. They flushed out almost, it feels like pretty much all the roster that was on that trash bagging championship team. I mean, Alex, how are you feeling about it?
So I obviously, there is still I guess maybe the spine of the team, if you will, with, Altuve, Yuli Gurriel. I mean, he might be a free agent, so maybe we'll see if he comes back.
Bregman was also definitely a young player on that team.
Yeah, and then Edward Bregman was a young player on that team, and certainly he's still on the roster. And then, who knows with Verlander? I don't think the Astros are going to pay Verlander $40 million a year. So
I was going to say, just opted out. Fully expect him to take a 1 year somewhere else, though.
Right, yeah, I think he's probably as good as gone there. Excuse me. But to your point, I think it was Pena and Jordan Alvarez who had really a lot of their big hits this postseason, and it feels like it's certainly Alvarez's team. I love that player. I've talked about him a lot. That dude is going to be a killer.
Reminds you a little bit of another DH, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he's
shades.
He might even be like more of a pure hitter than. As saying that sounds when you're talking about David Ortiz.
I know, a little bit crazy, but
yeah,
he's not as clutch. But I feel like, to your point, he has like more raw ability. Like it catches you more in the face. Like
right, and yeah, just that the build of the guy. He's an exciting player to watch, and I've talked about that. I think Rafael Devers is the best left-handed hitter in the American League. The only other guy that gives him a run for his money, I think, is Jordan Alvarez, and I think those two they're going to be neck and neck for that title. Going forward here, and it better be with the Red Sox if you're listening, Hein Bloom.
Hey man, Hein Bloom has some more issues to worry about with Xander Bogaerts.
Yeah, we'll touch on those. But I think it was good the Astros won this the way they did, and certainly, with a different manager, with Dusty Baker. And interesting side note, I believe it was baseball history, not on Twitter. I want to give the proper credit, but Dusty Baker's first game as a manager, the leadoff hitter, I think it was when he was managing the Giants, the leadoff hitter for the St. Louis Cardinals was Jeremy Pena's father.
Damn. That's some crazy shit.
Interesting.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, some interesting synchronicity here. But coming out of this World Series, John, the Astros at least have a lot of their building blocks in place. They get these great young starting pitchers, whether or not Justin Verlander it comes back, which I think he's gone. But
he's
interesting decision to you've had all this success, is probably the most dominant team in the American League, and then you let your general manager who just won you the World Series walk out the door.
Yeah.
What do you think's going on there?
That's a bit of a shocker. I like when those kinds of things happen, there's always something deeper that us as fans are not going to find out. Like, we can put a good hypothesis to it. Like, my guess is that he probably wanted some more autonomy, maybe a potential president's role, and the owners were against that, or against giving him as much autonomy.
But to only give him a 1-year contract?
Exactly. And that's
after they've really stabilized this franchise, after, we didn't know what baseball was going to step in and how they were going to punish this team.
It could have been way worse. And they could have they could have had more taken away, more draft pick strip. They could have had potentially even penalties on, like, in terms of not being able to resign some of their arbitration eligible players, but that none of that happened, and they were able to stabilize and even win. And it's insulting, a 1-year deal. Come on. But I mean, like I said, there's definitely something going on that us as fans are not going to see. It's definitely, if I had to guess, I'd say it's ownership related. Alex, how you feeling if about the guy upstairs? You thinking it's the owner raining down, putting down that iron fist and saying, you're taking my salary or fuck off?
The 1-year contract is interesting. Like, it doesn't even seem like that's a serious offer. I feel like if you're an executive and you've had the success that James Click has had, since he was, kind of railroaded into this job when they had to fire his predecessor as a result of this cheating scandal, to remain this competitive and to be able to, you had already traded for Jordan Alvarez, who was certainly, their big blue chip. But, you bring in Pena, and there was certainly some doubt if he was ready to take over as an everyday major league shortstop. And they really didn't skip a beat. And I think that, this World Series what really validates what the Astros have done this last 5 years. And now are they going to go... Are they going to find a way to remain competitive, or are they going to go the way of, the Kansas City Royals, where, they got lucky. All of these young, affordable players came up within 2 to 3 years of each other. You got to build for 3 years and, get to 2 World Series, win one of them. And then, you're back being in the cellar dwellers because you couldn't pay any of them. And I feel like the Astros, they've built a little bit more stable program than, my Kansas City Royals example. But when you're not going to bring in when you're not going to make a serious effort to retain your successful GM, it's puzzling.
Certainly, but at the same time, we'll see what they do this offseason. Just because there are a bunch of big names available this offseason. Who knows? Maybe they could end up players for DeGrom. He's already expressed
bring back Carlos Correa, make him play through.
He's already expressed an interest in going to Texas. Correa is a free agent these days, so never know what they might do. But We'll see what happens. I guess to be in January. But Alex, speaking of January, how you feeling about the Red Sox headed into this offseason?
Yeah, so I think John and I just wanted to get our thoughts out there before the off season really heats up in baseball. It moves at a glacial pace, we know, but there is going to be a GNASS hot stove show, and we're really excited about that. But yeah, John, as far as the Red Sox, MLB trade rumors, they had all the teams that, the teams that were expected to be big spenders, the teams that were expected to, make a splash or two. Red Sox weren't on any of those lists. And
Alex, Xander Bogaerts, that's why.
Right. And it's maddening because, again, what's going on here with the Red Sox? They are one of the most well-resourced franchises in the sport. It doesn't seem like Chaim Bloom, I don't think he understands that his two prior predecessors, both who won World Series, by the way, were shit canned in 4 years after bad off seasons. I don't think it dawns on him that if this team isn't in the playoff picture this season, he's going to get his ass fired, and he's not going to get to build his bridge to 2025 and have Alex Benelis play third base for him and Marcelo Meyer play short. And it's just not going to happen. And I'm like, Benelis, he hit maybe 210 at double A. And so are the guys that he's even brought in, are the prospects at Chaim Bloom humping, are they even that good? And you have all these holes on the major league roster, and you're about to let your franchise shortstop walk out the door. And so in Xander Bogaerts, when all they had to do was just give him a respectable contract, 6 years, $150 million, maybe with a couple options. If you went to him with the spring training, you get that done. And that's a drop in the bucket for the Boston Red Sox. So it's so freaking aggravating. And
Alex, it's hard to spend that kind of money when you're trying to buy the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, so obviously, the Fenway Sports Group is looking to spin off Liverpool. And before we touch on the Blue Jays, I want to pick your brain about this, John. As a Liverpool fan, are you? What do you think of the Henry ownership now that it looks like it's very much coming to an end?
Surprised. That's the main word. It's just very, very, as a fan, very surprised because they've been so stable, they've been so good. To your point, they've been very reliable. They're generally a very reliable ownership group in terms of bringing stability to organizations, bringing in success. Obviously, they've done that with Liverpool, but just the timing of it, it's very weird because it's they're struggling all of a sudden, and it just feels like they're kind of all right, hands off. There's some NFL teams we might be able to buy. All right, time to go. But to that point,
I think it's certainly from a business perspective, it is the right time for them to sell. I mean, they bought it for what, £500,000?
Yeah, not even, and it's increased like 10.
Yeah, it's going to fetch by tenfold since then,
and it's crazy how much they've profited on it, to be quite honest. And like I said, they have a stable program as well. It's not like the team's going to drop off.
And $5 billion certainly gets you into the room to buy the Washington football franchise. When we know Daniel Snyder, this is where I'm a little unsure. I don't know how many other hands Snyder has to feed in his ownership group, but if he's dead set on never selling the franchise to Jeff Bezos and it's a delta of, a couple $1 billion between, Bezos Group's best offer and John Henry, I think he's still I think he'll bite the bullet and still take John Henry's money rather than Jeff Bezos's money.
But keep in mind, if it's a straight swap, some of the I wouldn't call it consortiums, but some of the groups that are in talks to buy Liverpool, the rumored ask is $4.5 billion. So it's you're basically going almost a 1-for-1 if you're John Henry to a degree. And right,
I think John Henry sees the NFL as a better and more.
Well, here's what I would say.
All the oil money that are buying these soccer franchises now.
It's not just that, it's a
little more level billionaire playing field, and then some of them are petulant children.
That too, and in addition to that, with the NFL, John Henry's tried to bring Liverpool into a super league type model, and it hasn't worked out because soccer's too built into the grassroots, and the NFL is already in that super league model, so it fits what he wants in his portfolio more anyway. So to me, it makes perfect sense why he's selling Liverpool. It's just more of a surprise at the timing of it. That's it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, to that point, if he sells to say one of the Saudi groups or anyone in the Middle East, he's going to get the money immediately to buy the Washington football franchise.
Yeah, and so to bring this back to Xander Bogaerts, like if the Red Sox again do this thing where we're not going to sign any contract with any term that's really any real commitment to a player, just so they can be liquid to buy the Washington football franchise, be able to pay that expansion fee when there's going to be the Vegas NBA franchise that LeBron wants to buy, who's already a partner in Fenway Sports Group. So
it's gonna be sad having LeBron not own Liverpool.
I am going to. It's going to take a lot of self-control to not strip naked and tie a cinder block to my head and jump off the Tobin Bridge, John. It's maddening, and like the Red Sox are definitely becoming an afterthought, it feels like. And so I don't feel great to answer your question about this offseason.
It's a bit hard because the way that they want to model it is a lot like the Super League thing, where it's like you're just turning out profits no matter what. And it's like if you have to constantly that's one of the reasons that's kind of turned them off from like Liverpool, I think, to a degree, where it's like if you want to beat Man City, you're like you have to spend that kind of money. And it's like John Henry's like, I'd rather just kind of spend X and then always make X.
Yes, like definitely. And yeah, he's gonna realize he's gonna take a big, probably should have sold the Red Sox too while he was at it, because if the Red Sox don't, like, if we had to do this all, the Red Sox don't re-sign Xander Bogaerts,
there's any problems. Yeah,
they don't extend Rafael Devers this offseason, and we have to do this all over again with the better player, the franchise, the real franchise player in Rafael Devers. Like, Fenway Park's going to be half open in July, or half full in July, and I wouldn't be coming back. Fuck that,
dude.
Fuck that,
like a heart and soul kind of. I'm a Blue Jays fan. I want him to stay in Boston. Like, I think it'd be weird for him to play for someone else. Like, fuck.
And so, John, we'll quickly touch on your Blue Jays.
Yeah, we'll do it real quick.
Made big strides this year, certainly, to that young core to get into the playoffs. But it's kind of been a similar story, when last time they had playoff teams, at least a pitcher short. And so what do you need to see the Blue Jays do this offseason?
First off, like that. Okay, there's a few things they need. I think they need, first off, just an absolute veteran leader in the locker room. It doesn't matter what position he plays. Ideally, it's someone who can contribute on a daily basis, like maybe even a utility player who can play a few positions in the infield. But they need someone with an attitude, because when you blow an 8-1 lead, you don't just blow that lead because the vibes in the city aren't great from the hockey team, which is an excuse I've been hearing a bit here locally. And it's like, no, like that's not really how that works. You need toughness in that locker room. You need grit. And I get that they're young players, so they haven't fully developed that side of themselves yet, but they need, first off, someone who's going to be a leader, who's going to take that mantle and just show them, like, you need to grind in order to win.
Wasn't Springer supposed to be that player?
To a degree, but I think Springer's biggest issue is, like, and we saw it in that game, like he left that 8-1 game early. And it's like, and he's had trouble staying healthy in Toronto. And it's not that he hasn't been productive. He's been fantastic, but to a degree, your leaders have to be guys who are playing every day or who are at least healthy and can produce. And Springer has been, to a degree, unreliable in that respect. And to your point, Alex, the second piece is pitching. Like you said, they need a true alpha. Like Alek Manoah needs support basically as an ace of the staff. And they do have some great pitchers. Like Kevin Gausman was fantastic last year. Jose Barrios struggled, but I mean, we're anticipating him to bounce back.
Yeah, you'd think so.
You'd hope.
Given his track record.
But Hyunjin Ryu won't be available next year, given the fact that he's coming back from Tommy John. And I think he's like 36 now. So unfortunately, he's going to be more of like an end of the year, like kind of coming back sort of acquisition. And then Kikuchi was brutal last year, completely unreliable. So you're down to basically 3 pitchers. Like they're throwing out like Ross Stripling and that dude they got from the Dodgers who was okay.
Mitch White.
Yes, Mitch White. I forgot him. But yeah, like they do need, that's the main thing I would say. They need it doesn't even have to be an ace, but just someone who is reliable in the pitching staff, who can just eat innings. And like I said, just an alpha dog in their clubhouse. Could be any position, could even be that pitcher, for example. Like maybe they get Justin Verlander. And that's also
that would be a good pickup for Toronto. Like
they were keep in mind, they were in the Verlander sweepstakes last time and he chose to stay in Houston. So it could be something that if they're just like, hey, if it's 1 year, I mean, they do have the money. It's just a matter of like, are they willing to get a player like that? And
And do
that's
you
the
think that, I was going to say, do you think the Toronto management will extend even further to add on to this team, or?
I do. I think as long as it's on the, especially if it's on a shorter term deal, I think this management's more willing to go all in. Especially because they haven't had to not yet. They haven't had to hand out any big contracts to guys like Bo Bichette or Vladdy Guerrero. So for now, they're going to be willing to dip into the pot. And to my point about Hyunjin Ryu, the reason I've been saying he's a bit of a write-off is because yes, he had Tommy John, and yes, he's older, but his contract's coming off the books as well. So you have some money coming back in the system there. So I fully expect them to dive in specifically in the short-term market. Like anyone who's like looking for like an 8-9 year deal, like no, they're not going to be in on that. But Verlander, to that point, like maybe a guy like DeGrom if he's willing to go like 2 years. But I don't expect that, to be completely honest.
And we'll certainly be checking in on the depressing Red Sox and potentially upstart Blue Jays as the offseason
you say
grinds on.
Upstart, but keep in mind the Maple Leafs used to be upstart. Now they're hard aching Maple Leafs.
And so yeah, the Blue Jays got at least one more year as the new kids on the block in the AL East. They beat the bag out of the Red Sox this year. But also make sure you stay tuned for the GNASS hot stove show. John and I are going to bring back the hot stove, baseball's hot stove.
We'll do it closer to the winter meetings though, just so we can have some more things to talk about, just because we know it's gonna be like fucking quiet until then.
Exactly.
It's baseball.
Who knows? There might not even be anything to talk about on the hot stove.
There probably won't be. Like, hopefully like Aaron Judge signs some ridiculous contract that breaks the market with like, well, it'll be the Dodgers, let's be real. But
no, I mean, I think the Giants have said they're not going to let finances be a reason why they don't sign Aaron Judge. So when they say that, I tend to believe it because, but yes. So stay tuned for the
Vegas favorites, the San Francisco Giants, by the way. But anyway,
I think that's a bag job. And so we'll jump on to lace up the skates and jump on to the frozen pond up in Canada for the national pastime of our friendly neighbors to the north. John, the Mitchell Miller. Tragically, this story, I mean, it never should have been a story if the Bruins had acted remotely responsibly, but the latest development in this is the victim of Mitchell Miller's, racist hazing, emotional abuse, has spoken, and the Hockey Diversity Alliance published his letter. Just in part, he says, again, his name's Isaiah Meyer Carruthers. I've been bullied since I was in first grade. There were not many black kids at my school. I was called, quote, brownie and, quote, the N-word. Kid said my black mom and dad didn't love me. That's why I had white parents, specifically talking about Mitchell Miller. Mitchell used to ask me to sit with him on the bus, and then he and his friends would punch me in the head. This happened my whole time in school. When I went to junior high school, Mitchell would spit in my face and call me the N-word again. I stopped telling because they called me a snitch and I would get made fun of. I had to say that I was his, quote, his N-word, and to sit at his table and make him clean the whole table. He again, referring to Mitchell Miller, threw food in my face. I was called the N-word every day. I'm paraphrasing this letter. So now he gets into when Mitchell Miller reached out to him shortly before this, the news of Mitchell Miller signing with the Bruins came out. In the middle of October, I was being texted constantly every day till I answered a Snapchat and Instagram message from Mitchell Miller. He asked me why I always had my parents doing stuff for me, why I can't speak for myself. And then he said, well, I don't care what my parents say. Like, I'm old enough to speak for myself. And then finally, Mitchell Miller apologizes in somewhere in this thread. And he said the apology didn't involve hockey. And then Isaiah Carruthers, Meyer Carruthers, asked him, but where's the proof? And Mitchell Miller didn't have any proof.
I think we touched on like the justice.
So it's just like it's really heartbreaking, and this is a complete oversight real mess up by the Bruins. The Bruins haven't done any favors of themselves.
So just a little reference in regards to that statement. The charity that Mitchell Miller was referencing that he had worked with has come out and said Mitchell Miller's never worked with them. The
Yes.
apology that he was seeking, the Bruins never spoke to the Myers Crothers family. They just said to Mitchell Miller before they signed him, apologize to the kid before we give you a contract, basically.
Right, and
So,
I think that's because the Bruins knew what they were going to hear from the family.
yes, correct. They knew that this was going to happen, so they wanted to be able to spin it as a positive PR thing. And this kid's best effort, according to him, was reaching out on Snapchat and Instagram. I think that says all you need to know about this kid. Like, he does not deserve this opportunity at all. It's a shame, quite frankly, that and a complete oversight. Shame on you, National Hockey League, that you process this contract. Like, yes, Gary Bettman's come out and said this kid's ineligible to play. Fantastic. He's still getting the money. That is life-changing money that this kid is getting. Fantastic job, Gary Bettman. You should be fired immediately. Like, honestly, there's no excuses from the Boston Bruins on this one. And keep in mind, I want this to be very clear as well. The Boston Bruins locker room, their captain, Patrice Bergeron, their leadership, Nick Foligno, like their whole locker room, every one of them deserves applause on this because they revolted at the management. The management
Absolutely.
is the only people who deserves to be on target for this. Don Sweeney, Cam Neely, you guys should be fucking fired. Like, you do not deserve an opportunity in this league. Like, it's ridiculous that they even thought that this would go under the radar. And that's an insult, by the way, if you're a Bruins fan, to you. That he thought that you were so ignorant that you wouldn't realize this happened. Think about that for a second.
I think that the fan base responded in kind too. The fan base was not
exactly,
happy,
and that's my point
about this. The advertisers, I think their jersey patch, the CEO of that company has a mentally disabled son, and so for Cam Neely, he came out afterwards and said like, "Oh, based on new information." Well, what other new information did you need, Cam?
No. There was no out there. What Cam meant to say is, I didn't do any fucking homework at all. I thought I was signing a free draft pick. That's what he meant to say. And shame on him for doing that. He doesn't deserve his job. He doesn't deserve. Like, dude, it's a privilege to work and play in the National Hockey League. He has lost that privilege, much like the player he tried to sign. And by the way, just one little note of this as well. During the press conference for Mitchell Miller, a piece of news that came out was that Bill Daly, the assistant, I guess he's like the assistant executive to basically to Gary Bettman. But he essentially said Logan Mailloux, first round pick of the Montreal Canadiens, is also ineligible to play. Logan Mailloux, for those who don't know, basically was convicted, I believe it was of sexual assault in Sweden, if I'm not mistaken, for sending basically videos of a person doing some acts that they didn't want sent around on the internet, and not ideal for the Montreal Canadiens to take him in the first round pick. And the NHL has finally kind of come out on that too and said that he is ineligible as well. Of course, I'm just giving sort of like a high level of the Logan Mailloux situation just because we don't have enough time to fully dive into it now and give it full justice. But point being is that both Logan and Mitchell Miller are ineligible to play. Thank God they at least got that one right. But like, seriously, NHL, like, you process their contracts, these fuckers are getting paid anyway. But
right, and there is like some injustice that like these real dirt bags like get any of this money, which like you mentioned, John, this is life-changing money, even if it's
it is
even if it's
a
just
rookie contract is 3 years, $900K per.
Yep,
it's life-changing money. Like, it's a shame, man.
And so I obviously, like, it's on the team that they have to fork over this money. But is there any? I mean, I'm pleading ignorance here. Is there any way for teams to recoup some of this money? Is it prorated, or is it?
So part of that depends. Specifically in this case, there's a chance that with both players that they could be sent to the AHL. They have an AHL salary, and then the team would recoup some of the money. They wouldn't recoup all of it, but it would be something along the lines of like, your NHL salary is $900,000, which you cannot earn because you're not eligible. Your AHL salary would be, say, like, I don't know, we'll call it, like, just for the sake of this example, like $250K. It's still going to be like a full pay though for these two guys. And like I was saying, like, the best case scenario is that the teams in terms of like making sure that they don't receive this money, is the teams take legal action and the contracts get nullified. I don't even know if that's possible though, because they've been registered with the league. So by nature, the NHLPA basically would have to defend them, which is just like,
and that's a very
it's a touchy subject, basically.
Very touchy subject. I mean, we're seeing that in the NBA now with the Kyrie Irving situation.
Exactly.
John, we'll switch gears to
that's
talking
enough
about
negative.
actual hockey. What's caught your eye so far this season? Or right now, what's on your radar in terms of teams you're watching, new players, anything at all?
There's one thing I quickly wanted to mention, just so we can get some positives in on the ice. The best team in hockey that I can almost guarantee that you are not watching, the New Jersey Devils. Alex, the Devils have won 8 straight games. 8 straight. They're the top team in the Metropolitan Division. We thought they all had potential, like everyone who's been like kind of seeing what they've been doing the last couple years, but they have exploded onto the scene this year after starting 3-3. They're the 5th rated offense in the NHL. They average 37.8 shots a game. That's wild, dude. They're the second rated possession team in the NHL, averaging 59.9% of all the shot attempts on the ice. They're the 6th rated defense, averaging the fewest shots against in the NHL.
Did anyone see this coming with New Jersey?
Like, they've been building, and their problem's always been goaltending, but they got Vitek Vanacek and Mackenzie Blackwood just competing against each other, and they finally got some mojo back there, and it's like they're doing it, like, even with their goalie struggling too, which is kind of crazy. That's why I brought that up. They're the 6th rated defense, but they're still like the fewest shots against, the 24.6 number. That's the fewest by 2 shots, a full 2 shots in the NHL. So they're basically receiving shit goaltending and still doing this. They're being led by Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier, 2 young centers, and of course their big free agent, the big fish man, Dougie Hamilton. That was the big one that kind of changed their fortunes, I think, a lot quicker than people think, because a lot of people shit on Dougie still, but dude, the guy's productive.
He's productive. I think he's kind of a gutless puke, but he does.
I've never seen a softer defenseman who's 6'7" through his triangle, but he's fucking really good with the puck on his stick. Like, amazing with the puck on his stick. Like, and on the power play, he's just an absolute like beast, and he can fire the pill, to put it lightly. But they're a high flying team. They're fast. They're fun to watch. Like guys like Jesper Bratt, Yegor Shangareg. Yeah, I always mess up his name, Yegor Sharangovich. But that's a mouthful, right? And what's crazy too is they still have more guys coming along the way. I believe they have David Semek, if I definitely pronounced that wrong, but he was the Slovakian that they took 2nd overall, and Luke Hughes, Jack Hughes' brother, who's like obviously their best player. So they have 2 more top 5 picks along the way. This is going to be a really solid team for a long time. Their team on the rise. Oh, and Jesper Bratt, forgot about him. Jesper Bratt, we got to shout out, man. Last year's All-Star on the New Jersey Devils, but they're a fun team to watch. If you love hockey, please watch this team. They are just, everything about them's fun. They're fast. They possess the puck. They play good defense. They're mean as shit, which is really surprising.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely been absent from New Jersey for a long time.
It's been absent since they had Scott Stevens, which is kind of
like, exactly.
And like now they have, like, you watch a guy like Ryan Graves and you're like, oh, God, I'd hate to go down his side. But they're a fun team to watch. Vitek Vanacek looks like he finally has his legs under him, like I was saying. And Mackenzie Blackwood is getting, like, having some competition's nice for him. They thought he was going to be like the heir apparent to Martin Brodeur, and he just never really like took that next step. But like I was saying, yet another another young goalie, by the way, who is Washington. I don't know what you're doing with your goalies, but whatever. And what do you know? Like, some competition in the net, and you take off. So congrats to the New Jersey Devils, man. Hopefully they keep this rolling, and if they keep rolling, like, they might even challenge for the President's Trophy, which is just crazy to think about.
No, well, then you can write him off as a Stanley Cup winner. But I wonder who's gonna break the President's Trophy curse. Like,
Tampa, I think, broke it one of the
was it the COVID year?
Give me one sec. President's Trophy, Joe. I apologize to anyone watching this because you're going to see my horrible Googling skills while I look on my other screen.
Stand by.
Right. The last team to win the President's Trophy and the Stanley Cup was the 2013 Chicago Blackhawks.
And that was a lockout
Also
shortened
a
year.
lockout shortened season, yes. So you did have it right with the lockout shortened year, just wrong dynasty team.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And
Alex,
oh yeah, go ahead, John.
Alex, I think let's take a quick break before we jump into, well, the mediocre NFL season.
Yes, mediocre at best.
I mean, we mentioned it just before our quick break. It's been a mediocre NFL season so far through. I guess it's technically the halfway point now that we have to deal with 17 games.
I'll never like the 17 game NFL season. Like at this point, just get it over with and give me 18 games. So we're to President's
I'm
Day week.
scouring at the fucking
So we can
camera
get
right
to
now for
President's
anyone
Day
listening on
weekend.
Spotify.
We can get lit up during the Super Bowl and not have to worry about work the next day. Just like get it over with. Like I hate it.
They started off with Thursday night football. That was a big FU, giving us the shittiest game of the week on Thursday night, and then now they do this garbage. But anyway,
there is some Schadenfreude that like they're wasting the rest of Al Michaels' career on Thursday night football, and Jeff Bezos is losing $100 million.
Yeah, that's pretty dope, actually, now that I think about it. But Alex, let's talk about this NFL season in particular, not just holistic problems with the game that we all love. How you feeling about this NFL season, man?
So it's been interesting, like because scoring's been down, and I think you can attribute that to a lot of different things, and not just this season related, but
just
this again. There's a complete deficit of coaching. There aren't that many good quarterbacks, and this really translates to I think there's only 3.5 good teams in the NFL.
And a half? Who's the
three and a
half?
3.5 good teams. It's the Bills, it's the Chiefs, it's the Eagles, and then the half is reluctantly, John. This is big of me that I have to concede this, but a wiser football man named Bill Parcells once said, "You are what your record says you are." The Minnesota Vikings are 7-1. They haven't beaten anyone good. The one loss was Kirk Cousins in primetime to the Philadelphia Eagles. But you are what your record says you are. And so the Vikings get a half point for being a good team.
They did go all in at the trade deadline too, which, like I said, I don't think enough teams in sports these days, because of now that we've become so analytics minded, it's big on tanking. So not enough teams go all in at the trade deadline, despite the fact that they can't win. So I appreciate the Vikings for doing that and getting TJ Hawkinson.
And I think the Cowboys have a real defense, but they're the Cowboys. And
something about them I don't like. Like, I think they're going to run into the Eagles and just get fucked up real bad.
There's like this inherent desire to gag, and I think it lives within Kirk Cousins and it lives within the Dallas Cowboys franchise. And so I'm really writing off both those teams when I say that there's only 3.5 good teams. And other than that, the rest of the league is absolute dog crap. And I think anybody could beat anybody on any given Sunday, which I guess is what the league wants. But when you have to watch a product that isn't that good to get that parity, you'd like everyone to it's a tractor pull, and it's been a hard watch, John. I'm not gonna lie.
There have been some things that have been absolutely mind-boggling this year, and to your point about mediocrity and incompetence, specifically in the coaching ranks, one thing I'm looking for in the second half of the year is the ticking time bomb that is Nathaniel Hackett, Russell Wilson, and the Denver Broncos.
I think the biggest upset of the year is that 3 coaches have been fired, and none of them
are Nathaniel Hackett.
None of them are Nathaniel Hackett.
None of them are the guy that didn't know to send out a punt team or had to count to like the end of the play clock. Like, that guy is still employed. I don't even know how that's possible, but. And by the way, good luck to Jeff Saturday. I actually hope he does well with the Colts, but I really do think that the Colts don't understand how to evaluate quarterbacks, and that one is also a fucking ticking time bomb. But
right, and I mean, like he's being brought in to lose games and fail, but I mean, if you're the
to do it in style though,
if you're the defensive coordinator or the special teams coach, like a real NFL coach that has been waiting for even a chance to be an interim head coach, or who has the experience to that would be able to put on that headset. It's oh no, let's hire the guy. Oh, by the way, Jeff Saturday's the last season he coached high school football, I think he went 3-7.
One thing I will say is that Jim Irsay loves his guys. Keep that in mind. Loves his guys, and that's why he's big on bringing Jeff Saturday, and that's also why they're so fucking mediocre, because they stand by guys until it's too late. And like quite like I'll give you an example. Do you think they should have like
I
they've
don't even
stood
think
by
Frank Reich deserved to lose his job. It's
no, but
just
that's what I'm saying. I don't think he did because I think the problem with that team is they've been obsessed with this concept of like we need just one veteran piece to go over the top. And it's like, no, you're further away than that. Like, yes, you have a good defense. Yes, like Frank Reich was fine, but it's like, well, why do you think that Matt Ryan is the fucking answer? Like
right. He definitely looked
you
like he
don't
was cooked
have
in his
enough
last
there.
year in
Yeah,
Atlanta.
exactly. And it's like, and Carson Wentz looked cooked before they got him too. And it's
Right.
like
And yeah, it's like you don't want to see. It's almost like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, for instance, like or the Rams. Like you think like these are like kind of decent teams, even though they haven't played like them and they played like crap. But you're like,
yeah,
there's enough
the
there where you think,
disrespect for elite quarterbacks this year.
yeah, like you think that there's enough there where they'll like figure it out. And like for the Indianapolis Colts, they're watching these quarterbacks like, oh, well, Carson Wentz just like he lost his offensive coordinator. We'll reunite him with Frank Wright. They'll be fine. Now he might just like Carson Wentz has never recovered from that torn ACL or that broken leg, whatever it was that cost him that MVP. And
I love Aaron Rodgers, and this year he's looked brutal. Keep in mind, and he's looked
yeah,
like
he's
bitchy and moany
checked
and
out big
bad.
time.
Exactly. See that kind of thing. That I expect him to be on the Indianapolis Colts next year.
Yeah. or maybe Bill Belichick will see a distressed asset and bring him in.
I can see that. That'd be pretty dope. Alex, the other thing I was looking at though, over under how many sub 500 teams make the playoffs?
I can't see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think Tampa Bay Buccaneers will ultimately win the NFC South. They might be like 9-8 or 9,
okay. How about this?
It might be 9-8 or like, but I can't see Tom Brady with a losing record. I just like I can't fathom it.
I can't either, man. But like he's been like their team has like they don't. I don't know if they can.
Well, yeah, their offensive
the
line
field.
is
like.
And
Tristan Wirfs has been the best player at his position in football, and they've been like their offensive line is a disaster.
Yeah, everyone else is crap.
But yeah, it's been a big year of mediocrity.
I don't think there's gonna be any 500 teams that get into the playoffs here. I think
okay, we'll put it this 500 or sub 500 playoff teams, 1.5. You're taking the under?
I would take the under.
I think for sure we're getting one. I think
you can't finish 500 though.
I know that's wait, shit, that's a good point. Never mind. So let's go 1.5 sub 500 teams then. Well, actually, no,
I'm gonna say under. I think there's
what about one?
There's enough mediocrity, or there's like enough teams that are just above the mediocrity that they'll still finish like 10-7 or like 9-8. And
dude, the Giants are 6-2 because they figured out how to not fuck games up.
Right. I mean, that's a huge credit to Brian Daboll, and it goes so far with just having a remotely competent person with the headset on.
Yeah, calling the plays and shit. Yeah.
Right, because like everybody thought like I mean, Joe Judge messed up Daniel Jones royally. I don't think Daniel Jones is a franchise quarterback. But he's at least average. He's average. And like by Brian Daboll putting him in positions to not fuck up, they've just beat up on teams that puke on themselves, except then the Giants were that team when they played in Seattle last week.
Yeah, that was bad. Let's not talk about that. I lost some money on that
one. You and me both, John.
Alex, I think that's enough time talking about the mediocrity because I think we're just going to bore ourselves to death talking about it. Hopefully not, but we'll move on to the debut of our newest segment.
Yeah, Alex? From mediocrity to abject suck, and that's the Los Angeles Lakers so far. This is just going to be a really quick segment just on how miserable the state of affairs are at is it still crypto.com arena, John? Or is
something like that? But yeah.
But is it going to be crypto.com arena tomorrow? Is the
the real question is, has anyone bought that asset?
BlackRock. Yeah, John, you think if you're a Lakers fan, like if this was, under somewhat normal circumstances, 2-10, it's like, well, at least you got the chance of drafting a franchise, a generational franchise player in Victor Wembanyama next year. Not so fast, because GM LeBron James couldn't keep it in his pants when it was time to trade for Anthony Davis. And the New Orleans Pelicans now have the right to swap picks with the Lakers this year, which is just hilarious.
I love everything about this because I can't stress enough that when the Lakers made this trade, we all knew where AD was going. AD said, I'm not going to play. I'm going to walk to free agency and I'm going to sign there. And the Lakers literally just, like you said, Alex, they couldn't keep it in their pants. They just couldn't help themselves.
Let's trade Lonzo Ball, Julius Randle, Brandon Ingram, and
a bunch of
multiple first round picks.
A bunch of, because why not?
Why not?
All they had to do was wait like what, 3 more months?
3 more months.
He already wasn't playing basketball.
Yes.
Like what? How did you come to this conclusion that it had to be done when it had to be done? Like it, and I'm just so glad that, you know what, it's fantastic that they got their 1 ring out of it, because they're 2-10 now, like you said, Alex. They're the worst team in the league. They're getting hammered.
Yeah, enjoy your hollow like, COVID, NBA
like your one NBA championship. Have fun with that one.
This is the franchise that used to not recognize its championships from Minneapolis. That's a 21st century decision. The Lakers like, oh yeah, by the way, our championships in Minneapolis count now. I know we didn't count them before, but now they do. So this is just more of this right into my veins, please. Ben, that I guess will take us to this week in social media, John, because life just happens a little bit too fast online, and here at GNASS, we just like to slow things down and take a big bite out of the enormous cesspool, even more so than it usually is. That is social media, and I think Twitter.
Thanks for that one, Elon Musk.
Twitter this week has just put itself over the top, and John, think of all the fun that we could have had for $8.
You mean that we could have had? You mean that we still can, Alex?
Oh no, that feature has been taken down because a lot of publicly traded companies lost a lot of money this week.
You say that, I made money. I mean, I had fun investing.
I'm talking about just because of the fake Twitter accounts. That these real funny jokesters
there were some good ones too. Connor McDavid's blue check mark got bought out, and then he was tweeting stuff like, I'm so excited for my trade to the Islanders.
Yeah, and that was one of the more tame ones.
Yes, that was a very tame one. Speaking of
I mentioned off the top, we had the election this week, and noted baseball scumbag, and who's a 3-time All-Star and 1986 World Series champion center fielder with the New York Mets, Lenny Dykstra, got some internet notoriety, and he was going hard in the paint to get a date with Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. She looks like she did win her election. I haven't followed. She was down. She was down. She was up. She might have gone down again. But I think all the votes have been counted. I think that race has been called, but don't quote me on it.
Is this fucking guy heard of a DM?
Lenny Dykstra really wants to go on a date. He was asking, he put out a poll. He's like, should we go to this random bar in Philadelphia on our first date? And like, the 2 options were this random bar in Philadelphia or somewhere else, were the 2 options. And the tweet that I wanted to draw attention to, this comes from, so if you'll stand by. That's my internet. Horse massacre at Torque. At Torque TORQ Tenderloin. He has a screenshot on Madden with Lenny Dykstra's tweet. First, because Lenny Dykstra wanted to console Lauren Boebert because it looked like she lost, and Lenny Dykstra said, "I'm sorry about your loss in the election." Tags Lauren Boebert. Who knows what funny business was going on? Anyhow, I know this must be a difficult time, and just to keep in mind that you have someone right here to talk to, just wanted to be really supportive, or whatever other kind of needs you may have right now, DM me. And so this Twitter user, he has a
so he has heard of DMs.
Yes. So he has a screen grab from a Madden game, and it shows Harrison Butker lining up from the middle of the opposing end zone for a 116-yard field goal. And so, hey, I mean, there's always a chance for old Lenny Dykstra, and
hey, man.
Just because he wanted to diversify his portfolio of scumbag congresswomen. Another Twitter user pointed out that Marjorie Taylor Greene is single now, and Lenny Dykstra, in the only way possible, one word tweet, hashtag would, and that was horny Lenny Dykstra on Twitter this week. John,
oh god,
who's getting your
this
shout
guy's
out?
just like, yo, man, we need to shut this fucker down. Anyway, my shout out is going to CBS Sports for trolling the Mount Rushmore of QBs and I believe he's a part owner of the Brewers or the Bucks, Aaron Rodgers. Basically, since the start of October, the Packers, only have one win. The lowly Green Bay Packers. Doesn't look like they're going to make the playoffs right now, the way that they're headed, like we were talking about.
He's going to get his ass benched. At least
yeah,
at least he should.
At the way that this is going, he should.
I mean, you draft Jordan Love in the first round. Like, what are you waiting for? Like, enough with this guy.
But the Milwaukee Brewers, 2 wins in October. That is more since October 1st than the Green Bay Packers. Keep in mind, the Milwaukee Brewers stopped playing baseball though October 5th. So
didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah, tough luck if you're a Packers fan. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yep. Yeah. Oh my God. I don't know how anyone wants to look at that guy and that. Oh, like,
dude, Aaron's having a rough year. That's all. But Alex, speaking of
he's
gonna
go retire onto a ayahuasca ranch,
buddy. It's opened his eyes to new possibilities, like throwing to the tight end. But let's move on to hopefully some greener pastures, Alex, with everyone's favorite segment of the week. It's time for Degenerate's Corner.
Sometimes she goes, sometimes it does. She didn't go. That's the way she goes.
22 black, 22 black. Ass, son of a bitch.
The fucking way she goes, he said.
Oh, no. Why did I bet the company payroll? Oh, Gil's in a lot of trouble.
Can the boys beat the number? We'll find out on Degenerate's Corner.
That's the way she goes, buddy. The fucking way she goes.
Generous Corner time.
Alex, how'd you do last week?
These 3-team teasers, they're making some money. We got a win.
Buddy.
Patriots bounce back against the god awful Indianapolis Colts,
I'd hope so.
Which got their head coach fired. Nobody loses their minds more losing to the Patriots than the Indianapolis Colts. You can't beat them in the mid-2000s, so Bill Polian pisses and moans about being physical with receivers downfield.
They're still a little butthurt from the Peyton Manning era, dude. Don't worry about it.
They run the worst fake punt in NFL history. They start, this bullshit deflate gate. They now they fire their coach after, starting, a guy who might be a third string quarterback in the league. So it's funny. So yeah, Patriots beat the Colts, Bungles cruised to a win over the Panthers. Vikings looked a little bit dicey, but they came back and beat the Commandos outright. Didn't even need those 3 points in the back pocket. John, how'd your bet do?
My bet, I hammered. I love whoever's given the division winners double-digit points. Love you. Please keep doing it. It's making me a lot of money. Because I hammered the Titans versus the Chiefs. Chiefs won, obviously, but double-digit points for a division leader is a joke.
That was a good bet.
Straight up, that's it. But yeah, and also, by the way, how are you feeling about Kirk Cousins celebrating his win on the plane with all those chains? Chain gang.
It would only be better if Creed was playing in the background, John.
Alex, you and Kirk Cousins, one day you will meet, and one day you will be friends.
Probably.
Probably.
I actually,
probably.
I'm a
probably not, but like, still.
I'm a closet Creed enjoyer. No, I'm not. I'm not.
Definitely
not in this life or the next 10 million.
I'd probably lose a little bit of respect for you if you were. But Alex, that brings us to this week in best bets. Alex, who you got this week?
We're gonna go back to the well with one more teaser. John was nice enough to accommodate me. I was maybe gonna get some NBA in this spot, but
we're gonna try at some point, man.
We're gonna try at some point to make it happen. But going back to the well today, some good numbers that led itself to some good old teasing. So Vikings were 3.5-point dogs in Buffalo. We're gonna tease that up to 9.5, and I think there's a lot of uncertainty. It's looking like Josh Allen is not going to play this game because of the sprained elbow. I think odds makers, they've already baked in this line with the expectation that Josh Allen isn't going to play. So I think maybe when it gets official, this number could drop to maybe +3 for the Vikings. So figured I'd take it now, make it 9.5. Chiefs are laying 9 points at home against Jacksonville. We're going to tease that down to 3 points to at least get us the key number of 3. And if the Chiefs can't beat the Jaguars by at least a field goal, then maybe I was wrong. There might only be 2.5 good teams in the NFL. So then final bet, Saints and Steelers. We're gonna tease the under up to 46. The Saints off that pathetic Monday night performance doesn't really instill a lot of confidence that Andy Dalton can do anything anymore. The Steelers
I also the just can't move the ball.
Steelers can't move the ball, but they're getting points at home, and then Mike Tomlin has a good ATS record as a home dog, and so I could see this being like a 17-13 football game, and get out well under 46. John, where are you going with your best bet? And altogether,
46 for two teams without quarterbacks? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, so that's the joy of the 6-point teaser, and that does pay out at a +160.
Oh, okay, yeah, tease it up. That's pretty sick.
So inclined. John, where are you going with your best bet?
Ooh, my best bet. I'm looking to the NFL Germany games. This is Seahawks against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm looking straight at the money line. I'm looking straight at the Seahawks. The Bucs have been struggling. The Seahawks have been rolling. Geno Smith is firing under Pete Carroll, my friend.
Yeah, what if the Jets didn't ruin Geno Smith's career? Like, where would he be today?
Can you imagine if this Geno put him on this Jets team? Dude, we're talking about fucking contender already.
No, yeah, but anyway, 4.5 good football teams.
Yeah, right? But the way that they're rolling right now, the Seahawks not that they're the best team in the league, to your point. I wouldn't count them as a contender, but a first place team, they seem to have figured out a few things. And Tampa is just to this point of like struggling QBs like Aaron Rodgers. Stafford, Brady, Rodgers, do not bet on them right now. That is a nuclear option. So I am taking the Seahawks on the money line. +130 is where I got that. And get it while you can, because people are hammering that line.
Yeah, that'll probably drop to probably 2 points by the time.
It's also looking to give you an idea, the money line's already dropped to 110. But Alex, let's move on to our parlays or long shots. What do you got for your parlay this week, my friend?
Yeah, we're gonna keep trying. All we need is one to hit, John. So we have a 9-leg NBA NFL.
Do we really want one to hit? Because then we may never record again.
Yeah. I tried to pick late NBA games, so by the time you're listening to this and you're out on these games, maybe you put it together in a live parlay if you're so inclined, and you can maybe
keep in mind we are recording November 12th.
Yes, at about 2:30. So hopefully this will get this up and ready by supper time.
It'll be up by tonight.
Yeah. So we're gonna start in we're gonna start with the lone college football game in this parlay. We're just gonna take UCLA on the money line over Arizona. They're at home. Chip Kelly, this should be a very, very winnable game for them. They're heavy favorites. We're gonna take the Celtics on the money line against the Pistons. Celtics played on Friday night, but so did the Pistons. They're a wagon. I don't even think Al Horford's gonna play in this game. It was, I think, when I made the bet, the Celtics were 9.5-point favorites. That dropped to 9 points. Those 9 points do look juicy, but I don't like fading the Celtics in any way, shape, or form. So we're just gonna take them on the money line in this parlay. We're gonna take the Heat on the money line over the Hornets at home. Pelicans are playing the really, really crappy Houston Rockets, so we should get that one as well. So we got them on the money line. Now moving over to the NFL, we're going to take the Chiefs on the money line, Dolphins on the money line over the Browns, Giants on the money line over the Texans. Just don't drop the fumbles, please.
They're at home. I'm
going to lay 4 points with the Raiders at home in this parlay, because if Josh McDaniels and the Raiders can't beat Jeff Saturday out of the ESPN studio and off the high school field, and he wasn't a good high school coach to begin with, then Josh McDaniels is fucked. Like,
Alex, you're betting on the Raiders and the 32nd ranked defense in the NFL, man. They're fucked.
yeah, but hey, look, like sometimes you got to hold your nose, lay points with the 2-7 Raiders, and they're at home at least. On the road, I'd probably take.
Don't get me wrong.
On the road, I'd probably take the points. And then Eagles at home on Monday night against the Commandos. That should weird things have been happening on Monday Night Football, but I don't think that weird. Not that weird of things. No, actually,
I didn't want to touch the double digit just because weird things have been happening. And I feel like the Eagles are going to steamroll. But Alex, what is your total odd for that parlay, my friend?
That's plus 1234, plus 1234.
Wow, actually smooth.
Oh yeah, very smooth. John, where are you going for your long shot or parlay?
So we are going to the ice and to the NFL field. I was going to say field, but we do know that I like to bet on soccer, so I got to be specific. First, we are taking the Bruins on the money line against the Sabres. The Bruins, they have a game tomorrow night, so I'm banking that they're going to take the first of the back-to-back. Leafs versus Canucks. I know the Leafs played yesterday in the Hall of Fame game, a heart-wrenching moment. Boreas Salming, the legendary defenseman of the club, the first Swede ever inducted in the Hockey Hall of Fame, brought out with ALS, has ALS, and was brought out in front of the crowd to a thunderous ovation. Tonight is Boreas Salming night. So I fully expect the Leafs to fuck the Canucks up tonight. Giants, as you said, on the money line against the Texans. Please, for the love of God, do not drop any fucking punts this game. Chiefs versus the Jags, money line, of course. Titans versus the Broncos, money line. As we know on the show, I love betting that dysfunction will fuck people up. And of course, I'm going to take our best bet as part of this parlay. Seahawks on the money line versus the Bucks. This is a 6-part parlay. The total is plus 1662, Alex.
Crossing some streams there, John. So may the odds be in your favor.
And you as well, Alex.
Oh, why, thank you.
Hopefully one of these hits, man. Then we'll, like I said, expenses for the year, man. Done.
We only need one.
Alex, any parting thoughts for our listeners and our viewers, for those of you who consume on YouTube?
Be sure to follow us on Twitter at the GNASS, or while we still have Twitter.
If you see us with a blue check mark, it's not us.
Yes, if you see us with a blue check mark, it's definitely not us. And please do report. We would appreciate that. Follow the show, like, subscribe, hit the bell on YouTube, and go Seas.
Of course. Thanks for listening. And of course, don't forget, please catch us wherever you get your podcasts as well. Thank you for listening, everyone.